playTexas secures 24-17 win versus USC. 220 Keith Ford runs for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the go-ahead 17-yard score in the fourth quarter. 220,900 A&amp years, where the SEC stands through 5 weeks of PLAY1. Alabama 50. What more can you say about the number 1 ranked team in college football? The defense is dominant, Jalen Hurts is sharp, and the Tide are outscoring the SEC 12-53 in 2 games. 2. Georgia 50 is the gap between Alabama and the second-best team in the conference closing. The Tide are humming right along, but Georgia is quietly building an impressive resume after going into Tennessee and walloping the Vols 410.3. Auburn 41. If you were looking for a reason to believe in Gus Malzahn's offense and weren't quite sold by what happened at Missouri, then the hurting Kerryon Johnson company put on Mississippi State should have been more than enough reason to buy in. Since coming back from injury, Johnson has 8 touchdowns in 2 games. 4. Texas am 41. Look now, but the Aggies are 20 in SEC play. They clawed their way to a 24-17 home win over South Carolina and are in good position, all things considered, heading into a Week 6 clash with Alabama. 5. Florida 31. Finally, a convincing win. After barely getting by Tennessee and Kentucky, the Gators took it to Vanderbilt, rushing for an impressive 5 touchdowns on the ground. 6. Mississippi State 32. As it turns out, that lopsided win over LSU was fool's gold. Nick Fitzgerald is the playmaker running the football, but right now State is far too one-dimensional. 7. Kentucky 41. Another closer than it should have been game for the Wildcats. They were actually outgained in yards, 312,288, but Kentucky ultimately prevailed 24-20 over Eastern Michigan. This team is a few key plays against Florida away from being undefeated. 8. Vanderbilt 32. The Commodores showed more fight this week in their loss to Florida than they did a week ago against Alabama, but still came up short. Things don't get easier in Week 6, as Georgia awaits. 9. Arkansas 22. The Razorbacks took advantage of a get-well game against New Mexico State, rolling to a 42-24 win. Now an important stretch of 4 consecutive conference games begins with a trip to South Carolina in Week 6.10. LSU 32. Time to panic. Not only did the Tigers lose at home to Sunbelt foe Troy, they got dominated, trailing 247 in the fourth quarter before ultimately losing 24-21, breaking a 49-game home non-conference winning streak. They haven't looked good in 3 weeks and don't really have a signature win to hang their hat on. Tons of questions loom for Ed Orgeron's team heading into a crucial clash with Florida. 11. Tennessee 32. The Wolves are circling Coach Butch Jones as he struggles to come up with answers on either side of the football after the most lopsided loss at home in decades. 12. South Carolina 32. The Gamecocks let a double-digit second-half lead slip away on the road in a loss to Texas A&M. They have to find a way to generate more offense and protect quarterback Jake Bentley better. 13. Ole Miss 22. The Rebs weren't supposed to roll into Tuscaloosa and topple the Tide, but they weren't supposed to give up 66 points either. 14. Missouri 13. Good news for the Tigers. They had a week off. They needed it after 3 consecutive losses by large margins. The Tigers have a road trip to Kentucky upcoming, and it will be interesting to see if the time off does Missouri any good.